can the quasi bull market turn into a real bull market? And I would say yes, it can potentially. There are going to be some headwinds. We're going to talk about it, but the main obviously narrative is the ETF product and then the halvening coming up. And so while we've maybe known about the halvening and the metro, just kind of sort of the mechanism behind it and stuff for maybe a decade, or maybe you've been in crypto for 6 years or 8 years, maybe you talk yourself blue in the face to family members who are in the baby boomer generation and they wouldn't listen. Now suddenly that there's these ETF products, now guess what? Oh, they're trying to educate you on what the halvening is and this thing that's coming up and stuff like that. And while this might be very, very annoying, this is something I predicted, guys. Again, just that generation, a lot of times, the majority of them never felt comfortable with the crypto market. They would see exchanges going down. They would see CEOs potentially getting arrested. And that wasn't something they were seeing with like platforms like Fidelity or Charles Schwab or this kind of stuff that maybe they're interacting with the retirement accounts. And so while you might have told them that, okay, they're going to be late to the game if they wait for this ETF product, and maybe you said that 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, now that it's finally here, oh, they're a sudden expert and they're going to tell you about the halvening and this and that. So, and some of you guys probably experienced that here lately, and I, predicted this. I made a video, if you'd had to go back 4 or 5 videos or something, but more in the fall, that if this did come out eventually, that that generation would then go ahead and throw some money at it. And we are seeing some of that. And so there's maybe been 190,000 bitcoins or maybe 200,000 bitcoins or something that have been soaked up by these products reportedly. So and that becomes substantial. That becomes a larger holding. Now you guys have followed me for a long time and everything. A lot of times I would say I'm probably right 80 or 85% of the time. The thing that I would say that I didn't get wrong, and again, that I didn't get right, you have to admit your faults and stuff like that, is Michael Saylor's play. I figured he would get liquidated. When we went down to around 15K in late 2022, I figured the threat of liquidation was very, very real for him, and that he would be washed out of his investment, and we would get an opportunity to potentially get lower prices. We didn't see this lower price. He had somehow, some way, was able to take on enough debt and prevent himself from getting liquidated, and it has paid off big for him. I think he's maybe up $4 billion on his bet, on his Bitcoin bet, and buying Bitcoin, with MicroStrategy. So, props to him. He again, diamond hands. He did win for this moment. So, what we have here is a little bit of an interesting situation, because kind of this little bull market, or this quasi bull market, sort of popped off 2 years prior to when we would kind of expect the bull market to pop off, which is kind of funny because there was a lot of people that were sort of given this narrative of this elongating kind of like 4-year cycle thing, that the 4-year cycle, instead of repeating it, that maybe it would be pushed out, it would be further out, and all that. But obviously this ETF product, has been popular, and people are kind of going after it and throwing money at it. Now, my thought process is, like, in some respects, people don't have this discretionary income to be throwing at this speculative investment, but in the same respect, you kind of can't not invest in crypto at this point with all the, inflation going on with these different fiat currencies. It's out of control. And obviously the inflation has way outpaced your wages and stuff like that. So, and that's going on in all these countries, whether it be the United States, Canada, Australia, the UK, all these different places. And even I had seen this traveler that, had traveled, all over the world and stuff like that. And then people were complaining on Instagram that, because he was renting this apartment basically for like $300 a month in Sarajevo, and you know, they were getting all mad. It was really nice. It was like 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and locals were getting mad, and they're like, you guys are coming in and that's what we earn a month, and you guys are jacking up the prices. And you see this in every metro kind of in the world right now. It's all relative. People come in and we're thinking, man, you know, you could go to Thailand, or you could go to Bali, or you could go to Eastern Europe and live so much cheaper and everything like that. And then the locals there, their wages haven't kept up with, you know, the price that their real estate is going for. And then the same thing is happening here, obviously. Now, how does this thing turn into a real bull market, and what do I see is kind of like some of the issues with this? Well, first and foremost, the volumes have stayed low this entire time. And you know, even on stuff like Tron has done very well. And if you remember the video, I did a video in late 2022 when I was at the Bentley dealership, and I said the one crypto that you're sort of underestimating that's stronger than you think is Tron. And it has just continued to crank up, very steady gains. But the volumes have always been low on it here for the last year and a half. I mean, it's never kind of pumped up. Volumes for Litecoin were low, and that's why when it got over $100, I was like, I'm not liking this. The volumes are low. Bitcoin volumes have gotten closer to what they would have been in like 2021. But it's never really kind of gotten back. You know, it's never really kind of gotten back. So like the volume levels that we have now at this 50 to 52K range is not what the volumes were really when it was 52K in 2021, when it was in like a parabolic ascent. So I find that a little troubling. Now, some of this stuff is going to be kind of over-the-counter trades, and if a lot of that demand is coming through the ETF products, that's not necessarily going to hit the order books per se. You know, so it's really kind of hard to tell with some of those volumes. But, you know, on all of some of this other stuff, the volumes were coming up for stuff like Solana, and that's one of the things I kind of identified when we were kind of running up kind of Q4 of 2023, is that, okay, the volumes are looking solid. This thing is going to kind of like perpetuate itself at least into mid-January. Now at this point, obviously the new narrative being that, oh, the halvening coming up, so we've got another month. That's my we've at least got another month. And you know what, right here we're sitting mid-February. You take this thing to mid-March, and then let's just say the halvening is in April. People might try to take some profits before the halvening, so you know, this little sell the news type thing. But in reality, in my opinion, I don't know that you really kind of want to sell the news per se. If you can obviously hold on to all your Bitcoins and all your kind of like pillar assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, you know, these different things. You might have outlying things, positions in Dogecoin, Litecoin, all that kind of stuff. Like if you can somehow prevent that, you know, obviously holding through this next kind of wave, like that we would typically hit this peak in late Q4 of 2025. If you can hold through that, you know, more power to you. But obviously easier said than done. Prices are out of control, and I don't care who you are or where you're at. If you haven't been shell-shocked by grocery prices at the grocery store or some of the expensive different things, then you're lying. You know, because I mean, about the time you're kind of just shopping around, you know, not really paying attention, it can rack up real quick. I was doing that. I was just on the phone with one of my friends. You know, next thing I know, you know, I checked out, didn't even, you know, got half a cart. You know, we're talking $329. And I was just like, what? And I mean, it was right. It wasn't wrong. You know, it's just prices out of control, and it's not slowing down from that respect right now. But we are seeing a pullback in certain real estate markets, whether that be Austin, Texas, you know, San Francisco. You do have some of these markets where, you know, you're starting to see this stuff fall apart. The narrative's starting to fall apart. You know, obviously, you know, this has really kind of perpetuated itself longer than a lot of people have thought, myself included, because the way 2022 was looking, things were looking like, okay, people are going to be kind of tapped out. 2023 is, you know, this is going to kind of tap out, but I'm telling you, I don't know how much longer some people are going to be able to last with this, with some of the prices the way they are and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of seeing some major stuff start to clinch up here in 2024. I know that just sounds to be like a broken record for some people, but that's what I'm seeing. Follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steam, at Twitter, Hive, YouTube, everywhere.